Hey y'all, Bud Rednar with New Haven Church, and in our previous video we looked at the Garden of Eden and how a few of the patterns that we find there actually play out throughout the rest of Scripture, as well as Adam's job description. So in this video, let's take a look at a few more. Number one, let's keep going with the Garden of Eden and look at another pattern that we find. Man, woman, animals, water, trees. This setting pops up all throughout with the patriarchs of Israel. All throughout Genesis, the man meets their woman by this type of oasis. For example, Genesis 24 verse 10, Abraham sends his servant to the city of Nahor to find a wife for Isaac. Now, where does he find her? He finds her while waiting by a well to water his camels. A few chapters later, Jacob escapes from Esau and meets Rachel at Haran while she's coming to get water. Where? From a well. Moses, in Exodus chapter 2, defends Jethro's daughters from some shepherds at, you guessed it, a well. Then Moses goes on to marry one of Jethro's daughters. And this is all reminiscent of the scene that we have back in the garden with man, woman, animals, water at the well. All of these settings show us that these forefathers are like new Adams and that their wives are like new Eves. They will be fruitful and multiply, subdue and rule. This scene also shows up in the New Testament in John 4. Jesus shows up and he meets a Samaritan woman where? At the well, and they discuss marriage. Jesus is the new Jacob, the new Moses, and he is the last Adam. He invites Samaritans and Gentiles into the garden to drink the water of life. Number two, another pattern, Noah as the new Adam. God sends Noah out into a brand new creation. In fact, in Genesis 8 verse 1, we see the very same thing happening that we saw in Genesis 1 verse 2. Genesis 8 verse 1, and God made a wind blow over the earth. The Hebrew word there for wind is the same exact word used in Genesis 1 verse 2 for the word spirit. God is starting over now with Noah as the new Adam. And as the new Adam, Noah is told to be fruitful and multiply, and we see that in Genesis 9 verse 1. Then verse 2 of chapter 9, Noah is given dominion over all the animals. And then God goes a step further and gives him authority that he did not give Adam. What was that? In verse 6, God gives Noah the authority to execute murderers. And instead of being given a garden, Noah plants his own. He plants his own vineyard, garden vineyard, but still. And number three, let's skip to the end of Genesis here where we see Joseph as another Adam. In Genesis 6 verse 2, we see that the sons of God have relations with the daughters of men, which showed that corruption had spread throughout all the world. Sin and death has spread into all of God's creation. But when Joseph shows up and is sold into slavery into a foreign land, he demonstrates himself to be a true son of God by resisting the daughters of men, i.e. Potiphar's wife. You see, Genesis has a bit of symmetry to it. In the beginning, Adam is supposed to subdue and rule, and obviously he fails at this, but by the end of the book, Joseph is actually ruler over all of the Egyptian empire. In fact, Joseph ruled over all the earth, and we see that in Genesis chapter 41, verse 57. I think that's noteworthy. Joseph was a picture of what Adam was supposed to be. Now, God showed Joseph favor in everything that he did. As a young guy, Joseph was given authority over his brothers, and what happened? Obviously, he was given a robe as a sign of his position. His brothers strip him of his robe, but once again, after he's sold into slavery, he is in Potiphar's house and he is given authority. Again, Joseph's robe is stripped from him a second time, this time by Potiphar's wife, as he acted righteously by resisting the daughters of men, right? Then, after a couple of years in prison, he interprets Pharaoh's dreams for him in chapter 41, verse 42. Pharaoh puts his signet ring on Joseph's hand and clothes him in the finest of linens. You see, Joseph was not naked like Adam was. Joseph was clothed like a king and a ruler over all of the Gentiles. When Adam put his clothing on, it signified a loss of his authority. When Joseph put his clothing on, it signified that authority. And now Joseph was not only a picture of the Adam that was before, but Joseph is also a picture of the Christ that was to come. And maybe we'll get into that in another video coming soon. But for more information, you can reach us at newhavenbc.com, facebook.com/newhavenbc, and for more videos like this or our Sunday services, check us out on YouTube.